Alright. Hello and welcome. Apologies for that. I am good at this. My name is Gemstone, and today we are back in Our Life, Beginnings, and Always for the third time, the final episode. So I did go ahead and get the wedding DLC, so we're going to continue right from there. Apologies for the technical difficulties and for being late. I was finishing up eating, and last time I didn't know you had to save at the end of the game, so I had to do that last little section again. But anyway, we are back in it for the last episode, question mark? I have no idea. We'll see how this one goes, but I don't have work today, so we can do another 4-hour one to try and finish this game, perhaps? We'll see. But anyway, let's get into it. Welcome to the Cove Wedding DLC. These events are set after Step 4, but it's not specified when. It could be during that same summer, the next summer, a year in the future, springtime in California, etc. You can assume the timeline is whatever it needs to be to make sense for the choices you made to progress the relationship. Before starting, would you like to pick out an engagement ring for Cove to wear? Ooh! What do you think? Should he wear an engagement ring? Let's get married, I guess. Yes, guy. Heck yeah. Yeah. Ooh! Change color. Oh. Silver. Platinum. Silver. They look the same. Anyway. For Cove, let's see. That one is way too extra. That one's cute, but it's plants, which doesn't make a ton of sense for him. That one kind of looks like a wave. I feel like that's cool. Should we give him a silver wave? Platinum? If the ring isn't gold, I will be mad. Alright then, gold wave it is. Which initiative level would you like Cove to have for the wedding? Middle initiative. I thought shark fin? That also makes sense. Heck yeah. We hope you have a truly wonderful wedding. Ooh. Our wedding. Oh. Ah. Side by side on a purple-dyed faux leather couch, you sat with your fiancé, Cove. The air in the chic office smelled non-distinctly perfumed, though luckily it was a demure touch rather than smothering. A soft hum came from the air conditioning, gently flowing the scent around the room. It was the first time either of you had been there, and you weren't sure if the atmosphere was meant to comfort or impress visitors. For some people, it wouldn't make a difference either way, like with your own partner, for example. Cove's hand was intently gripping yours. You could feel him trembling, and hear the squishing noise the couch made each time he shifted around. Aw, he's nervous. One part came from his usual nervousness over these kinds of matters, and the other came from an almost uncontainable excitement for the same reason. Aw. This place was the headquarters of a well-known event planning agency in the area, and this office belonged to their planner for a very particular type of special occasion. Weddings. You were here to plan your wedding together. Soon he wouldn't be only your fiancé, Cove would be your husband. And on that occasion, there was going to be a ceremony, reception, and everything. Ooh. You matched with Cove, shaking from nerves. With your in unison shivering, you hoped you both didn't slide down off the cushions. The saving grace that was getting you through was knowing that this meeting should be straightforward. Introducing yourselves to the planning team, getting familiar with one another, and going over only some basics. Who's paying for this wedding? A planning team? Bruh. The entire process would take multiple visits here and trips to other locations. Oh my goodness. Before setting up the appointment with a planner, you and Cove decided that you were going to set the wedding in, or at least near, Sunset Bird. You also had a good idea of who would be attending, how large the wedding needed to be, and a few other details related to your lives together going forward. That was as far as you had gotten in the process when you decided to bring in assistance. Planning the day with Cove as a team was something you looked forward to. How much money do you all have? Yeah, I don't know. Must be a decent chunk if we're doing all of this. Cove caught your mind wandering away from you, and the corners of his mouth lifted encouragingly. Oh, he's so handsome. His second hand reached over to clasp both yours and his first. A metallic sensation pressed into your skin, the engagement ring securely on his left ring finger. Your feet shuffled against the black and white striped rug that covered over the center of the hardwood floor as he returned a smile back. Here we are. Here we are. It's really happening. His fingers squeezed your hand deeper into his hold. You know I'm not really good with, well, any of this, but I'm sure that whatever it ends up being, it's going to be amazing. It has to be, because I'm marrying you. Oh. You gave an earnest nod. And then there was a series of quick knocks. Your conversation stopped as you shared unsure looks between one another. Huh? Come in? In response to Cove's words, the shiny wood door off to the side swung open. Vague voice. Hello, lovebirds. I had a guess, but I figured it was so out of the way that it didn't make any sense. It's Baxter! I was gonna guess, but I didn't want to be ridiculous. Oh my goodness. He's an event planner? Oh my goodness gracious. That's so funny. It literally, the thought went through my head, but I was like, no way. Standing in the entryway was a tall man about your age. His dark gray hair was swept to the side, and on his neck was a distinctive mole. His curved grin and brown eyes grew wide in sync.
Hallelujah.
Oh my gosh. That was... I was not expecting that in my ear right now. Sorry, that threw me off. I was not expecting it to be like that. Anyway. Love would have been a lie if you two dolls had broken up. Cove stared while frozen in place, a deer in the headlights. His mouth opened, then closed again soundlessly. Do you know this person, Cove? Baxter? The former tourist stepped further into the room while chuckling.
That's wonderful.
Stop talking in my ear like that. I'm flattered you two people of excellence remember me too. And I didn't even have to dress in black and white. His style choices might have changed, but you realize now the design of the rug might not have been an entirely arbitrary choice. Now imagine how this scene plays out for those who play as DLC and date him. Oh no. Wait. In the interim, you ended up breaking it off with Baxter and going back to your childhood friend Cove. Oh my gosh. It was exciting to see it was really him. This was an incredible, unexpected reunion. Oh, now he can come to the wedding. Oh wait, the last time we saw him was when we didn't see him in the last step, so it was 18. So it's been like 5 years plus. It's been a while. Years.
I know.
Yeah, it has been. Oh. Cove dropped his response heavily. The tone likely would have been even firmer if he wasn't still in disbelief that Baxter had reappeared in front of both of you, and as a wedding planner of all things. Your wedding planner. What happened? Do you have an explanation for it? Well... As professionally as possible, Baxter strode to the other half of the room and took a seat in the rolling office chair opposite the couch you were on. He used the tips of his feet to smoothly twist the chair's position so that it faced you completely as he continued the reply. I went back to college, eventually graduated, joined the great wide career world, grew up and learned some more, and I'm still learning. To fully settle in, Baxter dropped an elbow on the armrests of his seat and rested his cheek against the propped-up fist. That's the curated version. Life is a wonderful journey. The words were spoken flatly, inauthentically, and punctuated with a dismissive gesture of his free hand. It was impossible to tell if the sarcasm was purely in response to Cove's own sharpness, or if there was something else. Even Cove raised an eyebrow at how clear the displeasure was. Baxter was aware of the impression he was giving, but only half shrugged with one shoulder over it. His eyes drifted away from you and your partner. Whatever the story was, you definitely weren't getting the full version of it. I hope you've been alright. A bend formed in his brows, a small sign of regret. I'm very well.
Now?
That's my introduction taken care of then. Let's swing things back around to the real reason you came. Regret? Is it like trying to tell us that he regrets not getting with one of us or something? You're getting married. Congratulations. You were given an enthusiastic round of applause from the audience of one. Well, now this feels sarcastic. How did the engagement happen? It must have been wonderfully emotional. A shame I had left town before I could find out. A fond, familiar flush of red crept over Cove's cheek.
Well,
We had come back to visit Sunset Bird for Gemstone's parents' anniversary. It started out as a normal trip. On the last day before we had to leave, we went out to the Poppy Hill behind Gemstone's house. I had been waiting for the right moment the entire time, and that was it. I asked Gemstone to marry me. Oh, she said yes. The pitch of Cove's voice shot up dramatically going through that last sentence, and got him shimmying in his seat. Just thinking back to that moment had him nearly tearing up from joy. Oh, he's so sweet. How romantic, and very fitting for the two of you. Baxter slipped a pen out of his jacket pocket and tapped it against the desk counter at his side. He looked between you and Cove, satisfied. Thank you for answering. Considering we're already acquainted, it should make the process that much better. I'm sure your special day is going to be one to remember. Cove's uneasy single word was directed towards you. In a whisper, he elaborated on what that was supposed to mean. Are we really going through with this? Having Baxter plan our wedding? I'd like you to. Cove quietly yelped. It wasn't unreasonable that the person on the other side of the room could hear the conversation, but Cove had not expected him to answer.
It's...
Baxter's voice sounds so much closer in my ear than any of the other. Can we have a different event planner? This one is not my vibe. Why don't you like Baxter? He's cool. Or like that's Cove saying that. I think I could do it well. I can do it right. And there's very few weddings I'd like to see go off like a charm than this one. He spoke in a conciliatory way. Baxter's... Oh.
It's...
I think I could do it well. I can do it right. And there's very few weddings I'd like to see go off like a charm than this one. He spoke in a conciliatory way. Baxter's normal boldness was entirely missing while asking for this chance. You and Cove faced one another on the couch. 'Cause I'm wearing headphones, so I had that voice right in my ear. Yeah. It really is just right inside your head, huh? The softness in his eyes and the sloping of his brows shared his thoughts without him needing to say a word. He was being swayed. You nodded to your partner. There was a pause, and then Cove spoke. Okay. There's just no option to not have him. That's really funny. Sucks for anyone who doesn't like him, I guess. While still on the couch, Cove brought his torso up to his full height and held his head high. The look on his face was determined. Since this is actually the reality that exists now, I've got a question for you, Baxter. Yes? Cove's strong stance began to crumble as he shrunk into himself once more. Is your offer for dance lessons still open? Your new planner gasped before quickly settling into laughter with a clap of his hands. Of course, always. That's a relief. I'm probably gonna need them.
I'm here if you need me.
Bruh, stop. I understand completely. I'm here for you. And you as well, Gemstone, if there's a need. You weren't a good dancer and could use the guidance. I don't dance. Yeah, I'd like that. Got it. That works for me. Now, he shifted closer in the rolling chair with a glint in his eyes that made him look like the teen he used to be. Let's roll up our sleeves and get into the details. Which I don't mean literally. No need to crumple my jacket. But I'm going to have to ask you quite a few questions.
Alright.
I'm ready. So am I. To start, have we thought of possible surnames? Yours, his, what are you imagining? I don't care. I just want to marry her. Cove began to grab at the faint scar on his arm out of nervous habit. He had been louder than intended. Oh, you sister. We have talked about it before. Yeah, we're going with... Ooh. Both of us using his last name. Holden. Good to know. Gemstone and Cove Holden it is. Oh. Cove straightened up against the back of the couch. You could practically hear his heart pounding over your names being said as one in that way. It made you giddy too. The raise of Baxter's eyebrows revealed his amusement at your reaction to what to him was probably something mundane. But he was happy for you, rather than mocking. And what about the titles in the wedding? Bride, groom? It can be whichever you like, honestly. Can I be a groom?
Of course.
Of course, it's your day. He's the groom and I'm the bride. Wonderful. A bride and groom for the couple of the wedding. Baxter flipped open a notebook set on the desk. Can I get an idea of scale? Only an estimate, it doesn't have to be a complete guess list. And even if you know... and even if it was, you never know how many of those invites will accept the RSVPs. Don't stress too much over who's going to be in attendance. Oh. Cove stepped off the cloud nine he had been hovering on since the start of the conversation, and planted himself back firmly on the purple couch in Baxter's office. For sure there's gonna be our parents, 4 of them. Gemstone's sister, and her uncle, aunt, and cousin. Some grandparents should be there, but not all of them. We'll have our friends, Miranda, Terry, and Derek. You're still friends with Miranda and Terry? That is wonderful. Yeah. You nodded agreeingly as Cove filled Baxter in. You and Cove continued to come up with family members, friends, professional relations, and the like to maintain it, to make an estimated size of the wedding. All the while, Baxter jotted down the information like an attentive student sitting at the front of class. And of those who you most want and expect to be there, would any of them make up wedding parties, or is everyone a normal guest? Wedding party? Isn't that the wedding itself? Uh-oh. I don't know enough about this stuff. We hadn't really planned on something like that.
Right.
Everyone there is just someone we want there. Oh, that would be like the close family and then the people who are attending the wedding but not part of like your core group would just be like other guests, and then the wedding party is the people really close to you, I guess? Understandable. Well, I'm only having people close to me. No random friends or coworkers.
So?
On the topic of guests and that sort, are you open to attendees giving speeches during the reception? We can make it so only select people are arranged to say some words about the couple, or have a mic open for anyone interested in taking it, or discreetly circumvent anyone from gathering the attention in order to talk. Speeches. I don't really want speeches. I don't know, I haven't really thought about this type of stuff. I'm putting myself in the mind of Gemstone, not myself, so let's go with that.
Yeah.
Fine with open mic speeches. I'm okay with that too. People are gonna tease us whether it's in a speech or not. Good. He continued casually, accepting all your input. And are you thinking of writing anything yourselves? For custom vows? Just remember, it's an option, not an obligation. There's no pressure to make a custom declaration if you're not comfortable with it. Oh. I wanted to let Cove decide what he felt up for. I think I want to write my own vows. I'm gonna be nervous either way, and there's a lot I could say. Then that's what we'll do. Cove's eyes squinted up from his cheeks as he smiled at you so sweetly. You were feeling butterflies already, and the vows hadn't even been said.
Lovely.
Just lovely. And that is highly personal, so you can each work on them privately, outside of our appointments. Baxter relaxed back into his chair and looked you both over. His smile curved widely. It was a look that made Cove nervous. You could feel him begin to fidget uncomfortably at your side. Let's talk a little more about traditions and wedding norms.
To be honest,
We're all friends here, so I'll be frank. If one of you sincerely asks not to get splattered with cake, or for whatever else, and the other does exactly the opposite simply because they think it's funny, I will personally see to it that your marriage ends. Bruh. If you can't treat your partner and their boundaries with respect on your own wedding day, you don't deserve them as your spouse. Okay, dang then. Now, I sincerely doubt that it's going to be a problem with you two, but it's an occupational hazard. Aww.
in that case,
With that said, do you have any requests pertaining to either the ceremony or the reception? We can arrange for anything special that you do want included. I'd like to do a proper cake cutting with Cove, without all the mess.
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that. Cove crossed his arms with a prudent nod. The longer he chewed on that idea, the more his lips tugged into a bent smile. And that means we can focus on what's important. Eating cake. Exactly. Cake isn't for smashing on people's faces. Very well. Baxter clapped his hands together, pleased with the direction of the conversation. That's another important detail done. We should discuss who you'd like to officiate the ceremony next.
I can do that.
I can arrange for a standard justice of the peace to be there, but if there's a pastor, minister, rabbi, judge, or anyone else that you have in mind, please send me their contact information. Preferably right away. I can work things out with them so we're all set for the ceremony. Unsure of what to say, Cove glanced over at you. He scratched his cheek contemplatively. I don't mind having a justice of the peace officiating.
Right.
Me neither. He shrugged, glancing over at you to make sure. A simple justice of the peace was all you needed. I don't know what that... Wonderful. I'll get that in motion right away.
Very well.
Now, have either of you considered how you want to arrive to the ceremony? Will one come in first and then the other come down the aisle? Or perhaps you both want to enter together? Oh, what were you thinking, Cove? He closed his mouth, thinking over the question. His eyebrows pinched together as he imagined the various possibilities. Would you want to do it together? I would. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Great. Cool. Exhaling his tension away, Cove closed his eyes. A weak laugh rattled through him. A justice is basically a non-denominational legal official that can preside over the ceremony. Someone that isn't tied to a specific religion. Thank you, Nintendiot. That works just fine for me. Heck yeah. But yeah, I don't think Cove would be okay standing up there by himself. He'd probably pass out from the pressure. I think I can handle that distance without my legs giving out from under me. especially if we're doing it together. See, exactly. No matter what, I promise that everything is gonna be okay. His features softened with affection. Cove nodded, having complete faith in you. I'll hold you to that, and to you when we're walking. For better or for worse, I hope. You both laughed at that. The last bit of tension eased in Cove's shoulders, and you knew that things were going to be alright. Cove's face was a shade pinker from the conversation, but he was pleased with what both of you had settled on. You were too. That sounds lovely. Baxter clicked his pen before dropping his attention to his paperwork. He glanced back up, giving you his full attention.
Does that sound alright?
Oh, and are you intending to exchange wedding bands? It is possible to skip that. Yeah. We were thinking that was gonna happen. We, already got rings for it.
Of course.
Of course. We can easily save a moment for that in your ceremony. Water break. Everyone take a drink of water. And a small reminder. Couples generally take off engagement rings before the ceremony, to wear just the wedding band during the wedding. Thanks. You couldn't help picturing the matching wedding bands you had gotten together. They were gold. And ooh. I don't know. I feel like I would definitely stab myself with a V-shaped band, but let's do that anyway. The stones you'd both decided on were ooh, green emeralds to match Cove's eyes. Yeah. Maybe like a mix. They would match our eyes. That would be cute. Green emeralds. They were incredible. But before you completely lost focus, Baxter spoke again.
So?
Do either of you want to have a bouquet? A small chuckle fell from Cove's lopsided grin, but Baxter was serious and waited attentively. When Cove realized that, he shrugged. I like flowers, but I don't need a whole bouquet. I don't need one either. Are you both positive? Silently, you held Cove's eye. You nodded, certain with your decision. He turned back to Baxter. We're good on the flowers. Okay, we'll nix all further talk of bouquets then. Baxter's gaze lifted from his notes. Marvelous. That's about all of the basics sorted out. But we still have time to talk about the ceremony itself. There's vows, but from there you can personalize it with more rituals and such. If there's any particular tradition that you'd like to have, you're welcome to let me know.
Don't worry about it.
I don't have things I need. I'm not very traditional. I just want it to be whatever Gemstone hopes for.
Charming.
That did not sound like he normally sounds. That was so deep. Charming. Gemstone? Eh? Okay, jump the broom. I know what that is. Sand pouring? No idea. I don't know what that is. 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 Some of these are tied to specific religions and upbringings, so it's fine if you don't know what some of these are. Yeah, I figured something like that. Confetti's bad for the environment. I just want to keep the ceremony simple. Everyone gathered together, that's all I really need. Of course, it'll be straightforward but still lovingly refined. Content with your wishes, Cove nodded agreeingly. Very well, so that's the ceremony. Now, any reception venue you choose will be large enough to have room for casual dancing throughout the evening. But I need to know if we should schedule for any particular kinds of dance? Such as a first dance between only you and Cove at the start, for example. Ooh. Both of you turned to each other curiously. A deep red blush crept across his cheeks, and when he felt overwhelmed, Cove's gaze dropped to the floor.
Well,
only if you're good with it. I would want to have a first dance. I was gonna say I don't know if he can dance with just me in front of all those people, but if he's down for it, sure. I want to have a first dance with you too. I don't want to dance in front of everybody. Cove perked up at your answer. Despite still being nervous, he gave an eager shimmy in his seat. You beamed, overjoyed with the idea of your first dance together as a married couple. Money dance? Wait, that sounds like a different type of the money dance is for the bachelor party. I'm sorry, I'm terrible. Anyway. Dances with our parents. Dance with each other's parents. Money dance? That sounds weird. You were looking forward to that moment with Cove. That sounds like plenty. His arms were the only one you wanted to be in. A thrilling tingle crept up your spine, making you feel restless. You eagerly wanted to leap into the future already. Guests offer a gift in exchange for a dance with the couple? Huh. Neat. I have not heard of that, so that's pretty cool. I don't personally think I would do it, but good to know. All I need is that dance with Cove. Cove struggled to find his voice. Oh, Gemstone, you're all I need too. Then it's settled. Baxter continued to keep track of details by jotting it down on paper. He kept up with the pace of the conversation with words and writing easily. Oh, and speaking of the ceremony and reception, that's my area of expertise. If you're going on a honeymoon afterwards, that'll be something I'd recommend perhaps a travel agent for. Or, honestly, arranging between only you two without any middleman. Cove didn't blink at the caveat.
Sure.
We'll handle that. While we're here, it's just about the day of. I get it. Fantastic. Now, back to the wedding. Do you have a sense of style you're aiming for? Is it formal, casual? Are the clothes for the couple meant to be a surprise for the ceremony? Or would you prefer picking that out together? I'm not sure. And also, what about hair? I can let my hair down so it could be fancier. Though, if that's not important, I can keep it the same. Good question. What do you think, Gemstone? Ooh. You considered the series of inquiries and responded by saying, okay, so I want a fantasy. I can go with whatever level of formality Cove is good with. Then maybe kind of in the middle? Okay. Also, I'd love to surprise you with my outfit during the wedding. That'd be nice. You were sure Cove would look great no matter what he picked. And Cove? I kind of want to see him in a fancier hairstyle. But I want him to be comfortable. Do whatever you want with your hairstyle. Okay, I'll figure it out. It's his day too, and I want him to look and feel how he wants to. Excellent work. I know this has been a lot of Q&Aing. There's much to consider for this big of an event. Then Baxter's pen was placed back into the pocket it had come from. He ran his now free hands along the smooth inside edges of his jacket.
Thank you.
Thank you two for being so forthcoming. I've got a strong idea of where this is going now. I'm already looking forward to the next meeting, where we can truly get into specificities.
Oh?
That's everything? We're leaving? Yes, you can go. Or you can stay if you want. That's the end of the actual session, but I'm not throwing you out. Cove is willing to work with you on things. I know you're trying to be considerate, but you don't have to leave everything to him. He feels the same way towards you. I know. I really want to make sure that both of us are comfortable. And when I genuinely am fine either way, I'll say it. That's alright. Bye. Cove awkwardly waved Baxter off, despite still being seated and not going anywhere yet. He had gotten so into the discussion of the wedding, he'd forgotten his usual stiffness around Baxter for a time. But that spell broke. Baxter accepted the answer and pushed off the armrest of his chair to stand up straight. You and Cove followed his motion, getting up out of your own seats together. I want a fantasy wedding. Let's Cove handle that option. Well, it's not really formal or casual. It's just completely out of left field. So neither of those really, kind of describe it, right? They didn't ask us about theme. The wedding planner took one stride closer to the center of the room and reached out his hand towards you. You shook it. He grinned while giving your hand one satisfying shake. I love this pun so much. Yes! I want this one! But we haven't seen him we weren't that close, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we had seen each other again, or if we had hung out a lot during the summer, definitely would have done that, but have a good day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye for today, Gemstone. I'm glad to have seen you. Then he offered the same gesture to Cove. Your partner accepted it casually, giving Baxter's hand a solid shake. Take care, Baxter. Thanks, and same to you. You've got a wedding to be ready for. Don't forget to look out for yourself and your fiancé. I'll remember. The two men released the other's hand, settling the agreement to take this chance and put a new foot forward in their relationship. Aww. With that, the two of you found your way out of the office building. The pop and subsequent click from the opening and closing of car doors played out in sync between you and Cove. As he buckled in for the ride back, Cove commented on the experience. The sentence was hesitant and had an upward bend that made it sound like a question. So that went well? Before you could respond to the not exactly a question statement, Cove continued on with a new actual question. I mean, we got Baxter Ward as our planner somehow, but he seemed good at what he does, right? He put his hands on the wheel and peeked at you through the reflection in the overhead mirror. Right. Baxter will do wonderfully.
You're right.
You're right. Cove had pulled out of the parking lot as he spoke. The wheels rumbled easily down the newly developed city streets of the area. But that was the end of Cove's attempt at conversation making. He went entirely quiet. The pensive look on his face didn't allow you to relax into a normal, comfortable silence. Cove? Are you okay? His mood easily lifted back up at the sound of his name. Forgetting all the Baxter stuff, I'm just really happy we're doing this. Sometimes I still can't believe we're together. We're engaged, and soon we're gonna be married. It's incredible, and it never stops feeling like that. I don't think I'll ever be used to it. Not really. It's like living an incredible dream. His cheeks squished at his eyes from the size of his grin. Nothing could stop him from looking forward to the upcoming occasion. Finally, the lack of words felt right between the two of you. You took the chance to let the day sink in as best as you could. After all the years you'd known Cove, now you were going to have a wedding with him. The scenery slipped by faster than your eyes could keep up with as you got further and further into your own thoughts. Then suddenly, the day had ended, and you were drifting off to sleep in Cove's arms. A new day and another visit to your wedding planner came down the rushing river that was your life at this time. You, Cove, and Baxter were each settled into the same spots as the appointment prior, but there wasn't any of that initial shock. Instead, things started off with a simple greeting.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you both. I hope you're excited for this. I couldn't be more. Cove stutteringly giggled over the conversation.
Me too.
Me too. Well... He pulled out his pen while crossing his legs in a fluid motion. Our company has its own in-house photographer for your event, so that's taken care of. But there's the meal catering, cake, and any other dessert you want. We'll definitely need at least a cake. Baxter coyly grinned at the abrupt interruption, unbothered. I'm sure you'll get your treat then. Along with those are the outfits for you both. And you'll naturally need to decide where the ceremony and reception will be held. If you're feeling unprepared to make a call on any of that now, we could always start with the dance lessons. What are you feeling? Knowing where the wedding is gonna be is pretty important to get done, but on the other hand, it's such a big thing it's kind of intimidating to think about. Cove tilted his head back and forth, mentally working through his opinion on the matter. Baxter watched the struggle for a moment before bringing it back up. Gemstone, any thoughts for your to-be husband? Sorry, had to yawn. I'm not bored. I am tired. Oh no. I don't want the decision to be left up to me. Well, we should decide on the venues just so that we make sure we get the one that we want. Because venues can be sold out. Dance lessons can be done until the day before. We should decide on the venues now. It shouldn't be put off any longer.
Yeah.
Baxter rubbed his hands together and grinned at you.
Absolutely.
Alright, now we're getting serious. Cove gulped, his Adam's apple briefly retreating up into his chin as if afraid. But he nodded his assent.
Alright.
Gemstone is right. We should decide this. His eyes met yours as he bobbed his head again. Let's do it. You sat up straight, your back tearing away from the comfort of the sofa's cushioning, as you readied yourself for such a critical discussion in your wedding preparation. Here we go. Good. There are stunning buildings in the area, which used to be private locations, but have since opened up, specifically for wedding ceremonies, for any couple who'd like to make use of them. Naturally, there are also plenty of commercial locations, which can easily host a full-sized after-party for your reception. His mouth twitched into a sly smile. Or, if you'd prefer something outdoors, there's always the beach. He chuckled, fully aware of what an obvious suggestion that was for his current clients. No, I want to be in the middle of the city in an apartment building, surrounded by factories. That sounds like a good, relaxing wedding location. You could go for a spot that can host both parts of the wedding, so it's a Sorry. These yawns are killing me. So it's entirely in one location. But there's no harm in making a little trip from the ceremony to the reception afterwards either. I feel like a little break is nice. Like a little bit of travel time so everybody can have a minute to kind of separate and, you know, like, I don't know, just have a bit of time in between those two giant events. It's entirely up to you. He held up a hand, stopping himself mid-flow, but continuing to smile wryly. But I don't wish to get carried away in a preamble. Where would you like us to start? He leaned in, not planning on missing one single word. Not planning on missing one word. I don't know why I'm adding words, not missing words. The hand which he'd held up in the air now propping up his chin. The ceremony is more... You glanced over at Cove, curious to see what he was thinking. Cove picked up on your prompt immediately. Oh, then, if nobody cares, I'd like to talk about the location for the ceremony. Yeah. Cove bit his lip as he weaved his fingers together on his lap. When he spoke again, his voice was soft and sweet, but just a little sheepish. That's the one I'm most excited about. Gladly. He relaxed back into his rolling chair, then took out a phone with one hand while extracting his pen with the other.
I can do that.
I've got photos of the places I mentioned to let you actually get a feel for the scene. Baxter tapped away at his screen, pulling up the previews of potential ceremony locations for your wedding. While he was partially preoccupied with that, he rattled off the specific kinds of locations you could use.
So?
There's a few spots I'd like to show you. There's a mansion that was formerly privately owned, as well as a church, mosque, or synagogue in the same vein. There's the beach, as always, or perhaps a different outdoor spot. Cove's eyes darted over to Baxter and back to you as he spoke up tentatively. So, we're allowed to mention our own ideas for places? Poppy Hill! Poppy Hill wedding! Beach reception! Baxter nodded amiably.
Certainly.
Certainly. What did you have in mind? He was looking down at his shoes as he spoke. Taking a deep breath, he glanced over at you. There's the Poppy Hill. You grinned sheepishly as he rubbed the back of your neck. With its starring role in your shared story, It made sense. Cove, still flustered, returned your awkward grin. He was clearly pleased to see that you'd been happy with his suggestion. He turned back to Baxter. I told you about it. It's where we got engaged, and... He swallowed. And, it's also where we first met.
That's sweet.
That's sweet. I called it. Ah. He tilted his head away and closed his eyes. I remember seeing it when I was there. Cove's gaze was fixed on Baxter with rapt attention, awaiting his verdict. It's rather small and round. Cove deflated, his shoulders sagging. Baxter opened his eyes again and continued. If you don't mind your guests having to stand, there's just not room for chairs. We could still set up a simple ceremony there. Cove chuckled as he straightened up in his seat. It could be worse. The confidence had been restored to him. Having Baxter take his suggestion seriously, and even offer ways to accommodate it, had helped put Cove at ease. But we could do picnic blankets! Picnic blankets on the hill! We could have, like, some chairs for those who need them, but fantasy-themed, like, picnic blankets on the hill. So it's like a medieval picnic, medieval luncheon. Oh, that actually sounds so cute. Then he checked over to you. We don't have to do it there, though. If it's poppies you want, there is another option.
Does that sound alright?
I know of a bigger, flatter field of those flowers in the Sunset Bird area. It would be spacious enough to have a full setup there. Cove tilted his head as he peered at the phone, genuinely intrigued by the news of another source of his favorite flower. Oh, that's cool. It did sound like it might be quite a stunning location. You began considering the possibility. Good to hear. Then Cove jolted in his seat, his head snapping up as another idea came to him. Redwood forests. Are people allowed to have weddings or whatever in redwood forests? Even though it's kind of further away, that's an amazing place to be in. He settled down into a warm nostalgia. We made some good memories there. Baxter nodded surely. It is an option for certain spots. We could get it set up if you want. Cove grinned, delighted. Baxter spread his hands wide, holding the pen and his phone with his fingers so that you could see the palms of each hand.
Well,
Those are the ideas, it sounds like. Tell me, what's standing out most for you? Oh boy. Okay, so this is for the ceremony location. I think, practically, the poppy field makes a lot of sense. So I want to go with things that are important to Cove, because they're also important to Gemstone in this story. Not the historical ones. As fun as seeing the mansion would be, it's just not the vibe for this couple. The redwood forest is cool, but it's a bit further away. I feel like that would be a really good place to go for the honeymoon. Like if we rented a cabin near the redwood forest, I feel like that would be perfect. So I think I really like the Poppy Hill because like they said, it's important to us, but also it's just his favorite flower, so the field is close to that but more practical, because then we're not making our guests stand, and we want our guests to be comfortable. So I think the poppy field for the ceremony, and then the beach for the reception, and the redwood forest for the honeymoon. Each of these options, minus the last one, will give you the chance to preview the backdrop before you pick. Ooh! Thank you. You saw Baxter pause over his phone for just a second. In that moment, you could read his mind. You and Cove knew every inch of the beach, in far more detail than even the best photograph could capture. Still, for the sake of what must be his normal protocol, he pulled up a picture of the local shore for you and Cove to examine. Cove replied promptly. I love it. What? You teased. Cove loving the beach? That's crazy. Cove glanced down demurely as he scratched his cheek. You spent so many days there growing up in Sunset Bird, and so many of those were with me. There's definitely a place with history for us. Okay, let's talk about another. I just want to look at the other ones. The Redwood Forest. Baxter swept through his sources to show you a clearing in a redwood forest that was used for events like yours. You knew those towering trees well, and you'd heard that they were some of the oldest living trees in the entire world. A lot of history would have happened over those boughs, and your ceremony could be just another addition to that long list.
It's nice.
Those are the best kind of trees in the world, I think. The trips we took there were always great, too. Though, if we did have it there, Elizabeth would definitely crack jokes about how she totally called us getting married right there over a decade ago. She totally would. You could already picture her big smug face. Cove's eyes sparkled with curiosity as he watched you, wondering how you felt about it. Okay, let's talk about another. It takes away the ones that I saw. Does that mean I'm eliminating them? I don't want to do that. I'll have to rewind if I did, but that's fine. I just want to look at them. I just want to look. Wow. Baxter tapped at his phone for a minute before presenting the screen, now displaying the church's interior to you and Cove. Hey, the floor is Baxter's style. Wow, it's beautiful. Cove stared at the picture intently, nodding slightly. I can see why it's a place for weddings. He checked your reaction to see if it met with your approval. Another. I just want to look at it. Baxter flipped through images on his phone with his thumb before, Oh, that's stunning. Cove leaned in to better inspect the fine details. It could definitely work for a ceremony. He's not excited about these ones at all, which is really cute. No. Let's look at the synagogue. Yeah, photo. Oh wow, okay, he likes the synagogue. But no. The mansion. Oh, not as historical as I was hoping. Still cool, but nope.
Wow.
That's fancy. His eyes were wide as he stared at the pictures. He gulped unexpectedly. I feel like somehow, no matter how hard I tried to scrub myself down, I'd still end up leaving bits of sand on that super clean floor. It's just inevitable. If anyone could accomplish such an unfortunate feat, it was Cove. Yeah. Cove's grin widened as he studied you, keen to get a sense of what you felt about the location. Another. The poppy field outside town? Oh wait, actually. The poppy hill behind my house? We'll look at this one first. Oh wait, do we not get to look at this one? Ah. He lifted his head up from his phone to face you instead, a note of amusement in his voice. I don't have a photo for that. I do. Wonderful. Oh heck yeah. Baxter leaned back in his seat, crossing his legs as he left Cove to manage the presentation of this one. You saw the trembling in Cove's fingers as he tapped through his gallery, looking for the photo of the hill. In spite of Baxter's earlier show of support, he was still nervous about the idea. Even though you weren't looking at his screen, you knew the instant he'd found the photo he'd been searching for. Just seeing the picture on his phone made him draw a deep breath through his nostrils. Ah. Cove held out his phone for everyone to see, and there it was, yours and Cove's very own Poppy Hill. It's gorgeous. This seems flat enough. We're not having a very big ceremony. It's... Oh... He started, before drifting off. He tried again, pulling his thoughts and feelings into words as best as he could explain it. It's our hill. It's not that impressive, or even flat enough to put out chairs for guests. But we could get married there if you want to. Where we met, where we got engaged, where we spent our life growing up together. Oh. Cove's voice was sweet as he spoke, but his eyes were earnest and open. You knew what he was really asking for your honest opinion, whether you'd want to get married there or not. I just want to look at the field. Baxter made a ring with his finger and thumb as he gave you an okay sign. It took him a little while to find a good photo. That was fair, since it wasn't a venue he'd initially suggested, but he soon had his phone turned towards you and Cove for inspection. Wow. Wow. Cove's eyes stretched open as far as they could go as he leaned in to examine the photo. That's just... wow. He repeated his initial judgment breathily, utterly enchanted by the vast field of white poppies. Slowly, Cove managed to tear himself away from the screen and his thoughts, and he turned to face you. He cocked his head to the side, wanting to know what you were feeling about the prospect. The poppy field... No, he really wanted the... I mean... Okay. I know I'm overthinking this, but anyway. So here's what I'm thinking, right? Poppy field, place for seats, you know, proper ceremony and all. Right? Our guests don't have to stand. And then we travel back to the beach for the reception. Or, right when people arrive, Poppy Hill, we can see the ocean from there. We met there, we were engaged there, we've spent countless days catching fireflies there. And then everybody just walks down to the beach together. And then we can have chairs there. Like, we're just having a simple ceremony. It won't take too long, you know? I think Hill has history, but the field literally took his breath away. Tough choice. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I mean, we could always do wedding photos on the hill. Because we're going to see the ocean and the beach after. But I love a good continuity of, like, specific dates and specific locations. I don't know. This is so pretty. Utterly enchanted. Yeah, I mean, we can take wedding photos on Poppy Hill, I think. Because it's not far from the beach and it's literally right next to my house, so we'll take our wedding photos there. Yeah, I think field for the ceremony, beach for the reception. Yeah? Cove, I think this is the one. Do you? Let's see how he reacts. Cove's eyebrows rose in response to your statement. The poppy field? His wavy brows relaxed, sloping gently as he smiled softly. I would love that. It'd be perfect for the two of us. Your body tried to gasp and laugh in excitement at the same time, resulting in a short breathy snort followed by an exhilarated giggle. We're going to have a poppy field ceremony.
Exciting.
That's exciting. He smiled indulgently, like a teacher allowing the class a moment of levity before bringing them back to their studies. Before you get fully carried away, there's still the reception location to consider. Baxter glanced down at his phone, nodding almost imperceptibly as he clicked away to get the information he needed. There's a couple of big halls you could consider, one which is frequently used for dances, and another for more formal events. There's also a large room in a historic mansion that hosts the I was like, wait, what? Mansion that could host the reception, the same one that I mentioned before. A rather new option is actually an aquarium in the city over, which now has the bandwidth to host private events. Oh, Cove does love an aquarium. Cove's jaw dropped, and he uttered a single word.
Seriously?
Really? Really? It'd be in the main display room, with the floor-to-ceiling tanks. His mouth continued to hang open, his face frozen. It was certainly a rare opportunity, and you couldn't think of anyone who'd be as excited by the option as Cove. As such, the news had temporarily stunned him. All at once, he blinked rapidly, closing his mouth in a hurry. Your attention returned to Baxter. The aquarium was certainly an option to keep in mind, but there were many other appealing choices to consider.
Of course.
Or if you wanted something outdoors, there's always the beach, of course. And even though you didn't want to use the redwood forest for your ceremony, it could also work for a reception, so you're welcome to keep it in mind as an option. Like before, if there's anything you want to bring up yourself, that's perfectly fine. In fact, I recommend it. He pursed his lips as he dug around in his mind, pondering the possibilities. As the thought struck him, He shifted to face you. What about that country club your moms are a part of? He snapped his fingers over and over, trying to dredge the name back up to his tongue.
Right.
They had their anniversary dinner there. You know the one. He closed his eyes, brow furrowed deeply as he tried to recall it. You were torn on whether or not to bail him out. Before you'd come to a decision, Baxter caught on and filled in the blanks. Ah, yes, the Cypress, I believe. You nodded. Baxter returned the gesture as Cove opened his eyes again. You looking both relieved and like victory had just been swiped from under him.
It's doable.
They would absolutely be able to host your reception, especially since your family are already members. Cove beamed. It's cool if we go with one of the other things. I just thought it was an idea. I agree. It was a smart suggestion. I have no doubt that they do an excellent job if you chose them, but it's really what feels comfortable for you. Baxter leaned in, perching his chin on the knuckles of his left hand. He was still holding his pen and his phone, ready to leap into action.
What do you think?
What's holding the most interest for you right now? We can talk it over. Is it the same room in the mansion? Ooh, this one's different. It's kind of bland, but I'm assuming it would be decorated for the wedding, you know. Baxter brought up the promotional shots of the building back. Oh, okay. To refresh your memory, you were grateful. The reception would require. I can speak. The reception would require a different setup compared to the ceremony. Beside you, Cove was scrutinizing it again. It's still really fancy. He shrugged, smiling. He tried to gauge what you made of the location for this aspect of your wedding. Another. We already looked at that. Ugh. Sorry, that might have been loud. That was such a visceral reaction. I'm so sorry. Lol, bar. Oh no. That was such a strong reaction.
Not bad.
Really pretty and seems professional. Very polite judgment. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's the place that we had the dinner. Oh my gosh, it's that place. He pointed at the phone in his excitement, though there was no question of what he was talking about. He jabbed his finger towards it as he continued gushing. Orca holds events there. He turned his attention from the phone to Baxter, his eyes wide open. We could have our own event there? Baxter gave the tiniest nod, smiling serenely as he continued to hold out the phone. Cove gaped, the realization still sinking in. You could understand how he felt. Being able to host an event in the same space as an established organization was something you never would have thought possible only a few years ago. It even has aquarium stuff, especially such a grand venue like this one. But it's too modern, I don't know. It's beautiful, great for a charity dinner. Not the vibe for a wedding. It feels more like a prom or like a formal, that type of stuff. Charity dinner, that type of thing, but not a wedding. I'm amazed we can afford it. Can we? See, something that would definitely come up in all this conversation would be price, but I guess we're ignoring that for now, which is not something I would overlook. I don't remember what I was saying. Anyway, that's incredible. It was a beautiful location that you and your guests would remember for years to come. Finally, Cove seemed to return to his senses. He blinked away the last of his shock and stared at you, eager for your input. Money is depressing. This game is supposed to be happy. Okay, that's fair. Let's look at the aquarium. Baxter held up a finger to indicate that he would be a moment. That was very nearly all it took, as he was able to locate pictures of the aquarium's large display room with ease. Oh. He showed his screen to you and Cove. Cove gasped with such intensity that he choked. You turned to him, alarmed, but he had already recovered and he was leaning in to look at the phone. His knuckles taut as he gripped his knees. Okay, well that's a reaction. I've never been to that aquarium. His eyes were open wide as they could go, as though he was trying to memorize every last detail in the scene before him. His mouth shut at last, fixed in a tight and intense line. He was super into this location. You chuckled to yourself. Of course Cove would love the aquarium. With it being open to the public outside of events, you reminded yourself that the wedding wouldn't be your only chance to visit the aquarium with him. I was just thinking that. Like, we could go another time, so I don't know if it's the best location for this type of thing. But yeah, we can go visit the aquarium later on. Finally, Cove pulled his gaze from the phone and glanced over his shoulder to you. You could tell that he was trying to figure out what you were thinking. Sorry, Cove. It took his breath away and made him literally choke, but we can go another time. It's just open to the public. We can go and walk around, but the beach, though, that's our home turf. Smiled Riley? Cove smiled wryly. Well, you still know how I feel about the beach, from our conversation today and practically from our whole lives. That was kinda... Was he not really happy about that? Does he like it? I don't know. No, he'd be happy with it. He just figures you don't need the explanation at this point. That is fair. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure he was okay with it. Cove lifted an eyebrow thoughtfully. The beach for our reception? His voice lilted at the end, as though he was asking a question, but he didn't seem to expect an answer. Rather, it was as though he was contemplating the feel of the words on his tongue, checking that they felt right, as a final test. Cove broke into a grin. I think you're right. It would match with us for sure. You had been holding your breath as Cove mulled over the venue one last time. You let out a sigh of relief. You'd already begun picturing the day with your reception here, and now that Cove confirmed that he felt the same, the tension drained out of you as swiftly as it had come. Your energy was mounting. With the venues picked, your idle daydreams of the big day moved from hazy imaginings to sharp clarity. The energy radiated off of you and onto Cove. He began to fidget in his seat, shuffling his feet as if he couldn't bear to keep them in one place for more than a few moments, while threading his fingers together over and over in his lap. Sensing that his audience was becoming distracted, Baxter quickly spoke up. A ceremony at the poppy field and the reception at the beach after, hmm? Looking thoughtful, Baxter tapped his pen against one side of his desk. Your eyes were drawn to the source of the noise. He tilted his hands as if to tap it once more, the pen idly rolling between his finger and thumb. And then he smiled.
Perfect.
Sounds like a wedding. I'll make it happen. Cove spun to face you, his eyes alight with glee. You got your wedding locations. You felt every thump of your heart beating in your chest. It was a thought so simple and yet so monumental that you were struggling to accept it all at once. Just for a bit of context, with the full story, some of those other locales are more difficult to roll out. Some other streamers I've watched and played with had a hard time with a few of them. They're... Okay, if you get like DLC, they're more involved then? That is fair. You knew where your wedding was going to be. They're places you could have potentially visited earlier, yeah? Okay. Cool, thank you. Yeah, for my particular playthrough, these ones make sense, but I could definitely see how if we had gone to some of those locations more often or something, that it would be a lot more involved. You seized Cove's hand. Your fingers closed tightly around his. Your grip was surely quite intense, though Cove still squeezed back as though wanting to nestle his hand even closer to yours. Thank you, Baxter. His expertise had helped you and Cove enormously. Cove chuckled at your words. Gazing into his eyes, you knew that all he could think about was the day you had just taken another step towards planning. Reviewing the venue options had taken up the bulk of your allotted time with Baxter. He would now need to reach out to the location managers and make arrangements, so you came to the mutual agreement that you'd end it here and let him take care of matters right away. Goodbyes followed, then you and Cove giddily left the office and spilled out onto the street together. It was a great way to end that day's work. You and Cove arrived at Baxter's office on the dot of the allotted time. Emotions were still high from the preparations the previous day. After having settled down as the process had gone on, Cove's nerves had shot back to their initial appointment levels. I went with synagogue, aesthetics not religion, and the aquarium. Not an outdoor person, too many unknowns. That is very fair. They were beautiful locations. Yeah, I genuinely do want to have an outdoor wedding myself, but in a forest. Not so much a beach person, but a forest person for sure. But I totally get the, rain, heat, wind. You never know what'll go on outside, so that is very valid. If I was having like a bigger wedding, I could definitely see doing it like inside or somewhere more practical, but I'm planning on like just having family, so it should be, a little bit more doable, more feasible to find somewhere like that. But heck yeah. Greetings were exchanged, and Baxter didn't leave a space open for Cove to get lost in. Your planner went right to the point. What shall we be doing today? Ooh. Okay, Cove is really nervous, so what's nice and easy for him? Clothes feel stressful. I feel like that would be stressful for him. Food? Okay, food it is. Alright. Yeah, Cove seems into that. Cove is a foodie? Ah. I really should have picked up on that. Cove's brightening enthusiasm was no surprise to you. Food always excited him. That is fair. Heck yeah. This should relax his nervousness a little. Baxter placed his hands on the arms of his chair and lightly tapped it with the tips of his fingers.
In that case...
That should be a nice time. I'll make sure you find the proper service to meet your needs. But don't worry, I won't get in the way of deciding any of the details for the menu. Thanks. I appreciate that. After that, the rest of the session circled around finding a specific catering company, and eventually you all agreed on one in particular. They were able to make arrangements with you right away. One phone call and you would schedule the time to go over details in person. That included a meeting with the chef too. Oh gosh, more meetings. And as an added bonus, this would all happen before your next appointment with Baxter. It was a relief knowing that the menu would be taken care of by the next time you saw him again. Until then, there wasn't much else to do. It was time to leave. Thanks again for your help.
See you.
It's my pleasure. Of course, I await your next visit. We'll be back soon. Bye. Baxter nodded with a genuine smile as he watched you head out the door. Once you were outside the offices, you noticed the little pep in Cove's step. You were both in good spirits. Chipping away at the wedding planning had a special way of doing that. On the scheduled appointment with the caterer, you and Cove eagerly arrived at the location specified over the phone. You were led inside the building, past the seating room, and directly into their commercial kitchen. It was sleek, silver, and so clean that it sparkled. That observation alleviated some worries right away. Next to you, Cove's eyes wandered the space with intrigue. Along the back wall, you spotted a woman at a sink large enough to be an arm's length deep. She looked over her shoulder and grinned broadly. I don't know what voice to give her. Hold on, I'll be right there. She finished washing up and swiftly crossed the room, drying her hands on her apron. When she reached you and Cove, she gave a little bow. Rhonda. I don't want to make any assumptions on what a person named Rhonda would speak like, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Hi, I'm the head chef and your caterer. I hear that you're getting married and you're in need of sustenance for your friends and family. That is not the voice. Yeah, we are. Oh, I guess we don't see her. Alright. Well, I can assure you that you've come to the right place. We provide a full-course meal with a menu tailored to your tastes and requirements. We'll also include all the plating, silverware, and glasses. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Why don't you introduce yourselves? I envision someone confident and experienced, maybe slightly booming. That makes sense, like chefs have to call out and run a team and stuff, so I'll try and lean more that direction. A bit stunned by the speediness of the chef's candor, Cove took the opposite approach and slowly, awkwardly pointed to himself. I'm Cove, the groom. You go, buddy. And my name's Gemstone. I'm the bride. I love it. You can call me Rhonda. Okay. Hi, Rhonda. Hey, it's nice to meet you. Marvelous. Now I have a little pamphlet that I'm gonna go grab. That's not it. I don't know what I'm doing. Marvelous. Now I have a little pamphlet that I'm gonna go grab. I don't know. You can read it, leave it on the counter, use it as a coaster. It's okay. That's not the vibe. That's not the right voice. Booming. Leave it on the counter, use it as a coaster, it's okay. I'm gonna explain everything myself anyways. Think of it as an extra guide. Sure. Rhonda waved the idea of any formality with both hands, as she also shrugged nonchalantly. Cove chuckled shyly, leaning towards you while she lightly jogged to the other side of the kitchen. Not another yawn. In case you can't tell, I'm not very experienced with a booming voice. She scooped up 2 information sheets and came right back. Rhonda confidently stretched her arm out all the way to offer you each a pamphlet. Both of you accepted one. Cove turned his around in his hands, inspecting it carefully. You studied the one in your hands too. Hi, potato! So I'm a whittle late. Maybe just a smidge. And I might have to go. All good. Thank you for dropping by. Since this is spoilers for me. Oh, yeah. That's fair. Yeah, we're doing wedding planning. I know I'm shy too, but it can be fun to take on a persona that's a complete 180 from the norm. Ah, heck yeah. To explain, yes, I've played this a lot, but it was before the wedding DLC. Ah, gotcha. Ooh, cute. Back to my cave I go. Alright, thanks for dropping by, Potato. You have a wonderful day and night as well. Drink and stretch. Self-care. Bye. Wee, it goes away. Valid. Well, now that I've remembered that, we can get into the nitty-gritty. Let's shop talk the menu. That just sounds like Baxter, but like doing a weird voice. I've gotta go into my mind palace and find what a booming female voice sounds like. Oh man. Well, now that I've remembered that, we can get into the nitty-gritty. Let's shop talk the menu. You can choose to have a single menu that's consistent across the board, easy peasy. Or we can do up to 2 fully separate types of menus based on different dietary needs. Guests could choose between them, and we'll prepare as much as both as needed. And it practically goes without saying, but we'll be able to accommodate individual plate changes if any come up. Sure, why not? For example, a situation where just 1 or 2 people need some specific elements left out. We can work with that without needing to make another full selection for it. So, what kind of menu did you 2 have in mind? Oh, no special requirements. No accent, just loud and proud. I didn't know how. There wasn't anything in particular that you felt you needed to restrict or make specific arrangements for. Your group of friends and family could work with whatever. And that's the only menu style needed. You were confident that your friends and family were in for a delicious surprise. Turning to Cove, you checked to see if he had opinions on the menu. How does that sound? He paused on that thought. Cove scratched the back of his neck and let out a chuckle. There's nothing else I can really come up with. You said it all. You had to grin at that. There was almost nothing you two wouldn't try at least once. Fair. Great. That's the biggie already done then. Let's keep that ball rolling. Yes, please. At the minimum, there's gonna be a main entree in our service, so that's one course automatically. And if you're having a cake or another dessert, that'll technically be another course for your guests. Although that doesn't count as one of the portions that we offer here. I can go up to 6 courses, the dinner, and as many as 5 additional portions. So we're looking at salad, yawns, more yawns, additional yawns, and another yawn just to top it off. Sorry. So we're looking at salad, soup, a hot appetizer, a cold appetizer, and or a palate cleanser. Do you know how big you want the service to be? Bigger than one course because we want some variety. So there's the main dish, soup or salad, hot appetizer, maybe 3? These ones all feel these two feel really excessive. This one I can kind of see like a soup, a salad, a main course, and an appetizer, but I think 3 should be plenty. That sounds really good. Unless he wants all of them. Cove brightened, contemplating the possible combinations with 3 courses. He picked up the pamphlet again. I really did want at least one of those other options. 3 courses then, eh? Sounds like it. I lost his voice. Whoops. Do you know what you'd like for it? I want one of them to be a soup. Sure, I'm not gonna say no to soup. Okay, we have an entree and a soup agreed on. Yep. The chef glanced up from her notepad. She twirled the pen with her fingertips in anticipation. I let Cove choose my character's menu since I knew this was his wheelhouse. He chose a menu that was tailored around my picky tastes. I love how many options and choices this game is programmed to track. Yeah, it's awesome. Just like the different selections and stuff can get really crazy. Maybe I should have left it up to him. I was just thinking about real life living with people who are fairly picky, so like I kind of know what they like. It's coming along nicely so far. What else were you thinking? What is a palate? Anyway, a soup, entree, hot appetizer would be. Cove is pretty flexible here. There isn't much in the way of food he genuinely hates. Heck yeah. Yeah, I would definitely, there isn't a choice for us to discuss it, but that's what would go on. Alright, so we've got a soup and an entree. What even is a cold appetizer? And a palate cleanser. I know what salad and hot appetizers could be, but I don't know what cold appetizers or palate cleansers are. I feel like a salad would be nice. Because that's kind of like a cold appetizer. It's like a salad, so it's... Because it may... Like, an entree... Does the entree have sides with it? I don't know how this stuff works. I should have left it up to him. Should I rewind and leave it up to him? Yeah, let's do salad. Why not? Perfection. This'll be tasty. Oh, and how much heat are you expecting for the dishes? We can keep it all very mild, or we can easily push the spice levels up. You looked over at Cove, waiting for him to answer. Cove met your eye, and you could tell that he was mulling over the same problem. And then you caught the light bulb moment in the way that he brightened. How about we keep the meals mild, and we put out sauces and stuff on the tables so people can adjust the food to their preference? Is that possible? That's a good idea, because I know a couple of my family members don't like super spicy, but I also like the option for people. Yes, of course we can do that. That's a perfect idea. Cove's suggestion made sense, but his cheeks still reddened from your compliment, and that only made your grin widen. And... The chef backtracked through her notes for a second. She thought over everything that you all had discussed until she could pin down exactly what was slipping her mind. What about the drinks? Are we a just water please party, a coffee and tea group, or hard drinkers? There's always at least going to be water, even if you have other options, so don't worry about that. Oh, I'd like there to be juice, sparkling water, tea, coffee, and that's everything. I think we'd covered it. There's nothing else I'd want to add. Cold appetizers would be something along the lines of deviled eggs or sandwiches, something that doesn't need to be thoroughly cooked. Cleansers are items served between courses to remove the taste of the previous dish. It helps to enhance the flavor of the next round. Certain kinds of bread or things like sorbet are usually used for that. Sorbet in the middle of a meal? Ooh. Thanks, that's really helpful. I probably wouldn't have gone with cold appetizer knowing that, because while I like sandwiches, I feel like they're a meal of themselves. Now bread, I would definitely want bread, but that should be good. We'll make it happen. So that's the menu type, meal scale, spice level, and beverage basics. Pleased, Rhonda rolled her sleeves up. Her gaze fell on you and Cove with a new determined gleam. Let's go deeper. Oh boy. Cove smiled nervously at the chef's intensity, but he didn't wilt completely. You had a sneaking suspicion his remaining strength came from the topic of still being about food. And palate cleansers tend to be more of a high-class item. Kinda goes against the Cove vibe, I think, but it's there. Ah, that is fair. The conversation continued from there. It dug into the specifics such as the main protein and side ingredients, the style of cuisine the foods would be based on, and so on and on. It took a fair bit of time, but eventually a finalized selection was arranged. You couldn't get over how delicious everything sounded the longer the conversation went. Yeah, we've gotta go out to dinner after this. By the end, Cove appeared just as relieved and excited as you were about the food. But most of all, you were so grateful to have a set menu plan for the wedding. Rhonda, however, hadn't slowed down at all. I see that you're both settling down for a rest, but just hang on and stay with me a little longer. We're not done yet. Oh, there's something else? Dessert. Oh. Okay, never mind. Yes, and it's called presentation. We can do all levels of flair for your meal. Were you picturing a plain Jane approach or something more hoity-toity? I want whatever Cove wants. Cove held your eye for a moment. He warmed under your affectionate gaze. As long as it's yummy, it can be however. Piled high? Heck yeah. Heck yeah, middle of the road. We're so very the same. Well, I just think it should look nice. Kind of special because it's a special day, but it doesn't have to be crazy fancy. Cove rubbed at his arm nervously. His lips pulled into a hopeful smile, and you understood where he was coming from. That works for us. So, as I started to talk about way back when, we'll provide the plates and utensils and such. Our plates are white, but they can be completely plain or have little swirly details around the edges. What do you think of that? Before you or Cove could even consider giving an answer, she held both her hands up to stop that, and stole a glance over her shoulder. Ah, wait, give me another sec. I'll grab some stacks. You should see before choosing anything. Again, without leaving a window to say anything in response, Rhonda darted off deeper into the kitchen. Cove stared at her as she went. His expression was deadpan. Uh-oh. We're talking about the dishware now. He's no longer engaged. I mean, he is to me, but no longer engaged with the discussion. Yup, I thought so. Questions about visual aesthetics and he shuts down. Neurodivergency. Indeed. For me, it's the opposite. It's like the specifics of like taste and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. But then the visuals, oh, I'm in on that. Opposite neurodivergency. They are right when they say it's a spectrum. Yes! An abrupt clattering came from the direction she disappeared down, and a moment later, your caterer had reappeared. She kept her word and had piles of plates balanced in each of her hands. She stepped up to a clear counter space. Rhonda spoke cheerily, almost musically, while laying out the first set of plates and some forks to go with them. Perhaps so you knew for sure what they'd look like together. Here's the white! Cove looked on distantly, but you leaned forward to properly scrutinize the pure white dinner plates. This tracks so much. And there's the swirl! Oh, those are so cute! As promised, this time there was an extra design element on the plates. You considered it carefully. Now what are you thinking? I already knew I was going with the swirly. Got it. Thanks for humoring me. And now you can breathe. We're done. Rhonda laughed happily as she closed her notepad and put it aside. I already knew I was going with the swirly, but those were so pretty. Okay, cool. I'm glad we have that worked out. Thank you very much, Rhonda. Thanks so much. It's my pleasure. Looking forward to knocking your socks off. It'll be a 3-course, no special requirements, mild meal that your guests will be talking about for years to come. I promise. Heck yeah. Neat. One last quick question. Sure thing. How do we get out of here again? Rhonda clapped her hands and let out a deep laugh. Cove's face reddened with embarrassment. Go down the hall and take a left to another hall, then a right and you'll find the exit. It was so nice meeting you two. Oh no, verbal directions. Thanks. Again. With that, you and Cove left the kitchen and made it out of the building in one piece, following Rhonda's instructions. With every brain cell that we have smashed together. Come on. You both returned to the car with a vigor in your strides. It was amazing to get such a nice meal arranged, and exactly the way that you both wanted it to be. The food was definitely something you were going to be daydreaming about from now until the big day. When you arrived at the office again, Baxter was already comfortably seated and scanning over his notebook. He glanced up from it at the sound of the door opening.
Hello, Fo.
Wait, sorry, what was that?
Hello, Fo.
Hello, folks. I wasn't sure if he said hello, girls, and I was very confused, but he said folks. Welcome back. What's on the menu? Baxter smirked, but Cove answered with complete earnestness. A lot of things. Delicious. Very specific. What shall we be doing today? Oh, gosh. Okay. I think that might be where we leave it for today, because these sections all take quite a while, and then the wedding itself is going to be like a whole another thing. I wasn't sure how much more there was in the DLC, but turns out a lot. So I'm gonna stop saying it's the last stream because it is not. And next time might not be either, because we'll be doing these 3 things, and then the wedding will probably be its own. So that's gonna be it for today. I hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching and for all your help in intending it. It was very good to know. Yeah, you get your money's worth with the DLC. Heck yeah. I was just glad to be like able to support a little bit for this wonderful game, but there's so much more content and so many more decisions and moments. We get to see Baxter again. It's just awesome. You're welcome. Love watching people play this. Heck yeah, it's such a good time. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I will be continuing this section next time. But that's gonna be all for today, so farewell and have a wonderful day.